Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Acting Sergeant Good, and I'm a recruiter with the OPP located in the Northeast region. I want to welcome everyone to Ask Me Anything Wednesday. I'm joined today with Acting Sergeant of Media Relations. She's a coordinator in the Northwest region. Thank you very much, Acting Sergeant Lawrence. So, Lisa, tell us a little bit about what your job is with the OPP, what you're doing up in the Northwest region.
Well, I was in just an acting position currently. I was in recruitment. I'm still in recruitment, but I've been borrowed up here, Thunder Bay. So I talk to media, anything that has to go out in the media, social media content, it all goes through me. So I have a team, a really great team of 2 civilians that I oversee, and I do a lot of social media with them. And yeah, I deal with the media. So any type of phone call interviews, dealing with media, answering their questions, that's me.
Awesome. So today's going to be an interactive session. Obviously, that's what Ask a Recruiter is. So if you're joining in with us, please go ahead and send messages, ask us questions about the North. That's our topic today. It's the North is calling. So if you have any questions at all about the OPP, the recruitment process, specifically the Northeast, Northwest region, that's what we're here to talk to you about. And we'd love to share our experiences about working in the North. I know I've spoken to everyone before about working down in the Highway Safety Division when I first started, then moving up to Elliott Lake, then Blind River, and now in Thessalon, which is in the North Shore of Lake Huron. Lisa, what detachments have you worked out of?
I started in Kenora. That was my first posting. I'm originally from Ottawa. I didn't know where Kenora was, so I had to flip over a map. Sits on the border of Manitoba, so that was my first posting. Then I moved to served at Thunder Bay Detachment, and before you got to the Northeast area, I was in Sault Ste. Marie. I went to Sault Ste. Marie Detachment, served there, and then I've served in Nipigon, Chappaqua, and now I'm headquarters Thunder Bay. So I've been all over the Northwest, Northeast a little bit.
Awesome. And what have there been any differences between working in the Northeast and Northwest? Have you noticed any differences between the two different regions that we have?
Actually, no, I think because, I mean, Sault Ste. Marie is still north, but I know it's like everybody with North Bay, when you ask people from Southern Ontario that live in Southern Ontario and they have experience, they're like, have you ever been north? And like, yeah, I've been to North Bay. I'm like, no, that's not north. But Sault Ste. Marie, I haven't noticed much between Sault Ste. Marie and really Thunder Bay, to be honest. I think it's if you want to compare the Northeast and to the Northwest, I think a good comparison would probably be Sault Ste. Marie and Thunder Bay. Similar in size. Thunder Bay is a little bit bigger, but you have the lakes, you have the smaller community feels. So I haven't really noticed when serving my time in Sault Ste. Marie and really in around the Northwest. I mean, the smaller communities are just a little bit smaller, than not as many amenities, but still really have the same kind of opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lisa and I we just traveled, 2 weeks ago? I traveled from Thessalon all the way out to Winnipeg. So I stopped in Thunder Bay, picked Lisa up, and we continued to a career fair in Winnipeg. So I got to see a lot of the Northwest region and go to little restaurants along the way and check out the different communities, which was great. And I actually stopped in a place called Marathon on my way home, and I went to grab a coffee on my long trip back, and met a great group of people that were there that just wanted to chat with me about the town. And I love the small town feels in all these different communities, especially when you just walk into a place like Tim Hortons and somebody just wants to talk to you about where they live and what's to offer in the communities. I really enjoy that. Are there any? I know that you mentioned that you worked in Kenora for how many years were you in Kenora for?
3.
Okay. And when you were in Kenora, did you find that you were going to Winnipeg for like Costco, things like that? I know it's not too far.
Costco wasn't around when I was in Winnipeg, but that was back in '99. So I always went to Winnipeg. Just it feels like a little getaway and a mini vacation without really. It's only 2 hours away. Um, it's a population of 1 million people, so you really have all the amenities there. And so yeah, I used to go all the time for just a little getaway. They have the festivals there, but I'm glad you brought that up because when we talk about the North, right, we think of, there's not as many opportunities. What do we do up there? Do you have to fish and hunt, if you live in the North? But I mean, let's talk about all the reasons why you should come to the North when you join the OPP, right? So, I mean, as you know, you live in a smaller town. You're from Southern Ontario, so it's a place to grow, not just to live. So there's opportunities to build a life. There's plenty of space to raise a family. It's a healthier and more intentional lifestyle for your family, don't you find?
Absolutely. I feel like there's not as much hustle and bustle. It's more getting involved in your community, and you're not stuck in traffic all the time. So you get opportunities to do more things.
We have diverse and inclusive communities as well, right? Like we have rich Indigenous heritage, multicultural events. It's very welcoming to newcomers and immigrants. Um, big time notice the work-life balance and as well, right? You're not spending your time commuting. It's not a lot of traffic. Affordable cost of living, the education and childcare. You have access to public and Catholic school boards. It's a huge sense of strong community and family values. Um, so, I've stayed in the North. I haven't left, and I know when I travel down to see you, and we go to Aurelia together for work events. I can't wait to get back because the congestion, the traffic, all the noise, it's just really peaceful.
Absolutely. So I love that you touched on affordable housing. That's the one thing I really noticed when I moved up to the Northeast region. I mean, I grew up down in the GTA. I was looking at housing when I first came on as an officer. Housing was anywhere from like what $500,000, and that was back 12 years ago. Looking at housing up in the Northeast region, it was much cheaper at the time, so I was able to afford to buy my own house instead of just renting a condo, an apartment. So I love the fact that there's those opportunities to kind of start your life, start your family, especially as a new officer. It's great to start your life up in the North. You also touched base on opportunities in the northern detachments. So a lot of our detachments, they are smaller. We don't have as many officers. Therefore, we need people with different tools on their belts. That's kind of how I word it. We need people that are interested in being breath techs, people that are interested in being scenes of crimes officers, people that can have all these specialties that can help the team out because we really are a team. So I love the fact that these smaller detachments, you get plenty of opportunities to do the specialized training, get involved in these things that maybe a larger detachment in a different region you wouldn't get a chance to do early on in your career. Do you find the same thing in the Northwest?
Definitely, when you come north, you do have more opportunities at specialty courses that you won't get in Southern Ontario, and that's obviously because there's less officers, um, and so you do get the opportunity to go on those courses. So that is a huge attraction. I know for a lot when we do recruiting events, when we tell candidates that we have a lot of people coming up specifically for that. We had one. Um, young recruit in Armstrong, and he, a year on, and he had the Marine course just because they need a body, somebody with that skill set there, and he was able to go. So you don't get opportunities like that in Southern Ontario. So that's one really great reason why to come is those specialty.
Yeah, so we've got the Marine course, the ATV course, the snowmobile course. Those are things that are offered in the Northeast, Northwest. Obviously, we get a lot more snow than Southern Ontario does, so there's plenty of opportunities, especially when there's calls for service and you have those courses to go and answer those calls on a snowmobile or an ATV if somebody's down a bush road, Crownland camping. So there's plenty of opportunities to do that, which is great. Something that's unheard of from somebody in Southern Ontario that may have to drive a few hours just to go to their cottage on the weekend and say the Muskokas.
And the great thing is that because it's durations, right? So you come up here, you serve your duration, and if you decide for whatever reasons you want to go back to Southern Ontario after you're done your duration, you get a paid move. So, I mean, that's a great incentive in itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that you touched on the durations. So we have durations anywhere from 2 to 5 years, all over the Northeast, Northwest. Have a look at our website. We do have all the detachments listed, the duration of these duration postings. And if you're willing to go anywhere in the province, there are plenty of opportunities to do a 2 year duration where you can go to a place like we're the ones in Northwest region. So we're looking at Pickle Lake, we're looking at Armstrong, we're looking in Moosonee in the Northeast. So there's opportunities to go to these locations and work 2 years, get financial incentive to go up to these communities because some things are a little more expensive, like milk, bread, things like that. You don't have the Costco, you don't have the Starbucks, you might not have a Tim Hortons in your community, but they're not too far away depending on where you are. And getting an extra $20,000 a year, that's a huge perk, I think, especially when you're first starting out and you want to learn your job in a different community, you want to meet new people and get really good at your job, and then potentially after 2 years go to a sought after detachment location such as like Sault Ste. Marie or I guess like maybe one in the GTA or in the West region. A lot of people like to go to London, Middlesex. So it just depends on where you want to go. But the duration postings are great opportunities to work a short period of time, make a little bit of money, and then have a down payment for a house if you want to move back down south.
I know in the Northwest, Geraldton, otherwise known as Greenstone Detachment. I know, they're looking for officers. It's a great place to start. Very busy detachment, lots of criminal code calls. It's only a 4-year duration, very affordable housing. That's a great place. Red Lake is another great detachment that you're looking at, another 4-year duration, great place to start. I know I've talked to a couple of recruits there that say they love it up there from Southern Ontario. And the Rainy River District, I mean, you have your beautiful Rainy Lake. Great calls for service, criminal code as well. You're learning lots, 5-year duration. And those are detachments. If you want to join the OPP, we are in the North. You are, if you do select those, Caitlin, do you have an easier chance of fast tracking your application? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking to go northeast or northwest region, and we are looking for people in those specific detachment locations, I know when you're in the process right now, we are sending out emails, information to the people in the process, letting them know the areas that we do need recruits. And if you're willing to go to one of those areas, your application can be expedited in the process. So if you are willing to go anywhere in the province, let us know that when you get to the interview. Let one of the recruiters that are interviewing you know I'm willing to go anywhere. I can pick up and leave. I can go northeast, northwest, and more than likely you will move faster in the process because we need people in these certain locations, such as you said, Greenstone, right?
Yeah, Greenstone is looking for officers. Yeah, and again, beautiful lakes, affordable housing, great calls for service, everything that is perfect to start your career. Love it. How about we take some questions? I know questions are building up. I know
I
people want
think
answers,
so.
and so let's look at our questions.
Yeah, for sure. So I have when I'm having my LFI interview in a week and a half. How is it working in the north? I'm willing to move anywhere across the province. I love hearing that. That is amazing. I love the north. Was south when I grew up. Started policing in the south, then moved north. I love the fact that in the north, when there's calls for service, we tend to answer them and do them start to finish, because there aren't as many specialties in the area. So if there's something large, obviously, that goes on, we do get resources that come in. But a lot of the time, you get opportunities to do things like write warrants. You get the opportunity to go to the initial call and arrest the accused at the end, which is really cool, because a lot of the time, other services or busier detachments, you don't get that chance. Other units will come in and deal with that. You just go to the initial call, deal with it, and then somebody follows up with it. So that's one thing I really, really enjoy. Good luck on your LFI. You'll do great. Just make sure that you review the 10 areas of assessment that you have spoken about in your application. That's what we're going to be talking to you about. There's no tricks other than review and know yourself. Do you see any there, Lisa, that you...
Yeah, I see one from Jesse. How long do you need to go at the police college if you'd like to go in Kirkland Lake? So the Ontario Police College is for all police services across Ontario. They go there. When you sign up for the OPP, 1 to 6 detachments is you get your choice. So it doesn't matter where you want to go. You go to the police college the same amount of time. So it's 13 weeks at the Ontario Police College. Doesn't matter where you want to go. And awesome. Yeah, shift work. 12-hour shifts for frontline officers is what you start with. So each detachment does, it's up to each detachment on their rotation schedule. However, most detachments across the province are doing a 5-4 12-hour shift schedule.
Lizzie Bear is saying, would either of you want to move to other areas, or do you recommend the North? I absolutely recommend the North, especially at the beginning of your career. I recommend it forever. I really enjoy the North. I enjoy raising a family in the North. I love that there's tons of opportunities to get involved in my community. I love the fact that when I drive to work, other than construction that's set up in front of my detachment right now, there's no stoplights at all. I drive to work and I don't have to stop once, which is great. So that's a big change from the 1-hour drive, 10-kilometer drive to work when I work down in the Burlington area.
Why, Caitlin, why do you think candidates have a bit of a hesitation coming to the North?
You know what, I think it's far from family, especially if all you know is Southern Ontario. If that's where you were born, you went to school, that's where all your family and friends are. It's hard to travel, say 5 or 6 hours away from your family. So the Northeast region is Parry Sound, we'll say Parry Sound and north, and then just south of Marathon, is it between Marathon and White River? That's where it stops, and then it goes all the way up to Moosonee up that way north. So the Northeast region is really huge, but really, if you look at the map of Ontario, Parry Sound isn't that far from the Toronto area. I moved from the GTA. I have family members that still live in the GTA. If they leave there at 7 in the morning, they'll be at my house by lunch. So it's not that far. Once you come, you'll realize that it's a beautiful spot, the Northeast or Northwest region. The lakes are beautiful. You don't have to drive to a cottage on the weekend. You can actually live at your cottage full time. I bought my house because of the fact that it was on the lake. I have a sandy beach at my house. That's unheard of. In Southern Ontario, you're not going to find that for under like $1 or $2 million. So the fact that my first house I bought is on a lake, that it's just amazing to me. I don't have to buy a cottage or a camp, as we call it in Northern Ontario. That's something I learned. Everyone,
that's a good.
They call it a camp, not a cottage. So
yeah, that's what everyone told me when I first moved up. They're like, it's not a cottage, Lisa. It's camps. Good to know. So I know I love this question from candidates when they're asking me, where is what detachments would you recommend? And so what I say is, do your research, look into the communities. What is so great about the OPP in the north is, you can call up the detachments and usually find anyone that will talk to you about their community in the north. They love
a few more questions that we've got. I see a lot of people saying that they have interviews coming up, which is great. And they're looking for some suggestions. Again, just review your application, know yourself. We're going to talk to you about the careers you've worked in. We're going to talk to you about who you are, your background, your fitness, all the things that we've already kind of touched base on. So just kind of review your application, make sure you get a good sleep. They last around 2 hours, give or take, can be an hour and a half to closer to 3 hours, depending on the person. So if it's longer or shorter, don't stress out. It's different for every person. So I think it's Billy has mentioned that they finished with the special constable process for the offender transport unit. They have their psychological assessment this Friday. Congratulations on finishing everything else. They're wondering how long the psychological test is and if they have to study for it. No, don't worry about studying. When we've had opportunities to speak to the folks in the psychological unit that are doing the assessments, they told us that we should inform people to get a good sleep the night before. Don't stress out about it. It can take up to 5 hours depending on what you're doing the psychological testing for, whether it's for a special constable, whether it's for a regular recruit, whether it's for auxiliary or cadet. It depends on what you're doing the psychological assessment for, but don't stress out about it. Get a good sleep the night before. Go in positive. Don't overthink the questions and just answer exactly what comes to your head first. Those were the suggestions they gave. So again, please keep typing in questions in the bar on the side here so that we can have a look at them and answer them as we can. Sergeant Lawrence may be joining us a little bit later. I'm not too sure if she'll be able to get back in here, but we will try in a little bit if you have any questions for her as well. Okay, somebody... Lewis said that he applied, or he's looking at applying to be an officer with the OPP, recently got deferred by TPS, a background psych stage until June 2026. Can I still apply to the OPP? So it depends. I'm not too sure where you were unsuccessful. Again, with the OPP, it's 1 year from the time that you are told that you're unsuccessful. It depends on if it was the background or the psychological stage. Kind of reassess yourself, have a look at things that you were maybe asked, maybe speak to people that gave references for you and see if anything did come up. I can't give you a for sure answer where it was that you were unsuccessful with Toronto Police, but again, make sure that you are you're ready to go, that you have your application proofread by somebody, and that you are at your competitive best before you apply, because if you are turned down by the OPP, you have to wait 1 year before you reapply. Dylan's mentioning that he's adding a duration posting or two to their detachment list. and asking if there is government housing in specific locations. They've heard mixed things depending on the AMAs that they've been listening to. And they're asking for the best kind of bug spray for the northern black fly season. Great question. To be honest, anything with DEET works well. So get yourself some good bug spray with DEET, and I'm sure you'll be fine. And the OPP does provide some bug nets to put around your face if you really need them. Some of the detachments, I know that some of our AMAs, we have mentioned some locations that do have government housing. We do have some areas that have the government housing, but we also have detachments that do not. So our suggestion is, if there are duration locations that you are interested in, give the detachment a call. There's always going to be an officer or somebody that's working in the detachment that can give you that information, let you know if there are any openings in those government housing locations, because sometimes in places such as, I believe Armstrong has some government housing, and potentially Pickle Lake does too. If those, they might have them, but they might be full with other officers and families that are currently in it. So just give the detachments a call. Officers are really good to call you back and give you any information and answer questions that you might have. Okay, so Jess mentioned that she worked in the north as a private investigator, and there's a lot of traveling because there's so much land space to cover up there. It sounds like you're mostly contained to your designated area. Yes, so our detachments that we work at, they have patrol areas, and those are the areas that you get the calls for service in. So for example, I work in a cluster right now. It's called the East Algoma cluster. The reason it's called a cluster is because there's multiple detachments that are all paired together in this cluster. So I've got Elliott Lake, Blind River, and then Thessalon. So if there's calls for service in the Thessalon area, we've got kind of a map. That's our area that we patrol, the area that we answer calls. And say an officer's tied up, then they will get an officer from an outlying detachment that's per se closest to the call, so the closest unit, to go and assist and answer those calls for service. But yes, in the northeast and northwest, we do have a large area of land that we do cover. Waterways, trails, we already spoke about that too. So that's another thing that you've got to take into consideration when you are applying to work in the north. One of the funny stories I have from moving to the north was, I was very used to driving in Southern Ontario, driving in well-lit areas. I moved to the north, and it was very surreal and strange to me, driving down Highway 17 and not being able to see what's going on behind me, because there's no one driving behind me and there's no street lights. So it was almost creepy at the beginning, because I wasn't used to that. I was used to driving and being able to see what's going on through my the rear of my car, but I couldn't see anything. So that was really different when I moved from the south to the north. And one thing that I found a little strange at the beginning. Get to some more questions here. Somebody's asking about how long the auxiliary process is. So it all depends on when you apply and when we have our next classes. I don't have a list right now of our next auxiliary class, but I know that we are hiring for auxiliary, and we are continuously hiring because we love to have volunteers, people that can help out in our communities and go out on ride-alongs with us. So we do really appreciate the help. If you're thinking of applying, I think it's a great way to get your foot in the door, to see if policing is for you and get some hands-on experience before you decide that this really is the career for you. So Remit is asking, along with the courses we already touched about, are there courses for cold weather operations as well? So there are some courses that you can take when you get into our specialized units for like winter camping, that kind of things, but that's more for the specialized units. We don't have as many for the officers on the road. We do have yearly block training where they do touch on things. We also have great jackets that we're able to wear. They give us mitts, gloves, snow pants, things like that, toques. that we can wear when we're out on patrols to keep us warm, because the north does get a little bit cold. One thing that I noticed when I moved up north as well was that it went from being a damp cold by Lake Ontario to when I moved up to, we'll say, the North Shore of Lake Huron. I noticed it was really a dry cold. So I wasn't shaking as much. I wasn't as cold as I was in, say, minus 15 in Southern Ontario. It could be minus 30 up here, and it would be comparable to that minus 15 because it's more of a dry cold versus a damp cold. Okay. So Hamza asked if reference letters can be put in French as the references don't speak English. We understand, obviously, that there are people that are bilingual. There are people that just speak French. Of course, if you make it to the background stage, we will have to assign a background investigator that does speak French if your references only speak French. Of course, we know that we do have a lot of people that are applying to be regular recruits coming straight from Quebec, coming from other areas that just speak French. So we take that into consideration as well. I wouldn't stress out about that. We do take that into consideration as long as you, the applicant, are proficient in speaking, reading, and writing English. That is our main concern. So Dimitri mentioned that he received a deferral on July 4th after the final stage. Is there any recommendation online for continuing education courses? That would be ideal. There's tons of courses online. There's plenty of colleges, universities. If you Google police-related free courses, there's plenty online that you can find. I know a lot of people do those Canadian Police Knowledge Network courses. The OPP has two great courses that you can take. So they've got the Be the Bridge and the Inclusion Insights Challenge. So those are two challenges that you can complete and submit with your next application, Dimitri. If you are looking to just improve and continuously learn, do a Google search, reach out to local colleges in your area. They might be able to help you out. And there are, like I said, a lot online that you can do at your own speed, on your own time, that are free, that provide lots of learning opportunities to enhance your next application. So Brianna has a question. My application is 80% completed. Are Southern Ontario's detachments also hiring, or is it only in the north? We are hiring all over the province. If you are interested in policing, please put in your application. This is just to kind of talk. This AMA today is just kind of answer questions about the north, kind of highlight the north, the things that it has to offer, to let you ask questions about the north. So yes, we are hiring. Don't be discouraged if you want to go south. That is totally fine. I know that a lot of people want to stay in the south and want to stay where they grew up, where they have those connections. So please keep on applying. So ML is asking about civilian opportunities in the north and asking if they're only in Aurelia or if they have civilian opportunities in the north. So on our website, a lot of the opportunities are on opp.ca/careers. At the bottom, we do have some openings that we do post, as well as on the Ontario Public Service website. They do post a lot of our civilian positions as well. So have a look at our website. It's not the same as applying to be a regular recruit, obviously, because that's a pool of people that we just continuously accept applications for. When there's a specific opening at a specific detachment or location, they will post that opening on our website and you will be able to see it on it. So Jeffin is asking if everyone attends a psych exam or if everyone attends a psych exam And if they have to do the psych interview, he mentioned that he just did his exam last week. So Jeffen, don't stress out. There's multiple stages for the psychological tests that they do. They will fill you in along the way, ask questions, of course, when you're going through the process, and our psychological unit can kind of fill you in on that. Sometimes you have to wait a little bit of time in between these tests, so don't stress out about that at all. So Sam is an experienced officer with the RCP asking about the physical testing throughout the process. So if you are applying to be a regular recruit from anywhere in the province, we are looking for you to do the shuttle run and complete level 7 on it successfully before you are able to actually continue in our process. If you're coming on as an experienced police officer, you won't be asked to do that test. So Nicholas is asking about Moosonee and if there's housing available. He mentioned that it seems to be scarce and asking if the OPP assists in finding housing. So again, Sergeant Lawrence and I just kind of spoke about this earlier. If you are interested in Moosonee, give the detachment a call. Let them know that you're interested in working up there. Let them know that you want to know about housing in the area, if there's any opportunities to be placed in a government house. Let them know your situation. Also, officers are great at knowing their own community, especially in the north. So talk to somebody that's working the road there. Talk to the staff sergeant. Our detachments are rather small, so we tend to know if there is opportunities in the area. Sometimes there's officers that are willing to rent a room out to another officer. Again, they are aware that places like Moosonee are rather secluded. For those of you who don't know, if you work up in Moosonee, you have to take a train to get up there. You have to take a plane, helicopter. There's no way to drive in during the summer months. So you have to take transportation on the train, and your vehicle actually gets driven onto the train and taken in there. So this is a secluded community that you would be policing in. So call them, ask to speak to somebody there. There's more than likely an officer that can point you in the right direction. So Yazin is asking about the cutoff to apply to the December intake and asking if they don't put a duration posting, or if they didn't put a duration posting on their application, if they can let a recruiter know after the fact. I think that's the question that you're asking. Absolutely. So there really is no cutoff for the December intake. We are currently filling that class right now. If you are going through the interview process right now, if your application is in, it's safe to say that you might be able to make that class, but I'm not guaranteeing that will happen. We say the process start to finish takes 2 to 4 months. So depending on when you put in your application, you could meet it or you may not. It just depends. If you are in an interview with a recruiter doing your local focus interview, let us know if you want to switch your duration or your 6 postings that you've picked. If you want to add a duration posting, as well as there is an email that we do provide you with when you're going through the process that you can send us any updates or any changes to your application at any time, and we will update it and we will take those new duration detachment posting selections into consideration when finding you a spot. Hamza, is asking about Hawkesbury detachment and chances of getting it as a first choice. I don't know exactly if there's openings right now in Hawkesbury. Every day things change. if that's where you want to go, make sure that you let us know. Tell us your situation. If you own a house there, if you have a family, if you have a partner, what is going on in your life and why you need to be at that detachment. Again, we know a happy employee is a good employee. We want to set you up for success, not for failures. So make sure that you explain everything throughout the process when you get to the local focused interview. Hélène, hello, all the way from Paris, France. Thanks for joining us today. So Rachel is asking, what are the most frequent calls or types of calls that are responded to? Is there a lot of domestic abuse calls or calls that include firearms? Absolutely, those are everywhere. In the north, a lot more people have firearms for hunting purposes. So we do get calls for service that involve firearms because people are, say, hunting, or say they we stop a vehicle and it's got a firearm stored safely in it. So we would talk to the people, we would look at their firearm, things like that. So we do have calls for service that involve these things. Domestic abuse calls, absolutely. Calls for service are, depending on the location that you work at, very different. Some communities are larger than others, so there's going to have different kinds of calls. Some communities are, again, more secluded, so you'll get calls for service that are in those communities versus in the trails. In the location that I currently work out in Thessalon, we have a large area that has farms. We've got a large Amish population up here, so we get calls for horse and buggies on the highway. We get calls for cows loose on the highway, things like that that you wouldn't see in a large city, of course, as well as we do get a lot of marine calls where people are out in their boats on the lake and they need some assistance. We also get calls for service involving things like break-and enters to, as I call them, camps. Some people in Southern Ontario would call them cottages. We have a lot of people in this location, in this area, that are from other countries that just come up here to cottage or camp for a few weeks in the summer. So they have places that are unoccupied. So they come up in the summer and they notice things are missing, calls for service like that. But you know what, it depends on where you are working. It depends on the population. And we get all different calls for service. You never know what you're going to get. You come in prepared for your shift. You always make sure that you have a lunch, because you don't know if you're going to be out at a crime scene for 12 hours and you're going to be relieved in those 12 hours, or you're going to be staying a little bit longer because you're in the middle of the bush and you're waiting for somebody to get dropped in on a helicopter to relieve you from a crime scene. So you never know what you're going to deal with, especially in the north with the large area that we do cover. And again, every detachment is going to be different. Lizzie Berry, you're wondering what detachment you should go to. I think Sergeant Lawrence mentioned that Greenstone Geraldton is a great place to go. It's a beautiful spot in the Northwest. We need officers up there. Totally suggest you to go up there. And again, my suggestion is give them a call, talk to some officers. I know that they do have some fairly new officers up there that can kind of talk to you about moving to that location, what it was like at the detachment, maybe the age range of the officers there, and what to expect moving from the south to the north. So I know that they do have officers there that have lived at some point in Southern Ontario and now are there. So we've got a question from Instagram. What is the average time before somebody can join a team such as ERT or the K9 unit? That's a good question. One great thing about Northern Ontario is there's more opportunities to get involved in specialties such as ERT. K9 is a very intensive process to get into, and you're competing with everyone throughout the province to get a spot in a unit. Again, there's K9s in larger areas, such as, I know that there's one in the Sudbury area, we had one in Sault Ste. Marie that just retired, so they're going to be filling that area. There's one in all over the province, like Thunder Bay, North Bay. So there isn't a canine officer at every detachment. It's more localized. So there would be a few in the Northeast, a few in the Northwest, Central, East, West. So we do have canine all over, but that's a much harder one to get into. The emergency response team, we have officers at our detachments that are part of that team. So it's easier to get involved in it, especially in the Northeast, Northwest, because of the fact that there are more positions. You have to travel further, and officers tend to get into those units much faster in the North because there's not as many officers that are interested, because again, our detachments, we may only have 20 officers working at it compared to a Southern Ontario detachment that may have like 70 officers working at it. So your opportunities can be much faster. Again, it depends on what's going on in the area, with how many officers are retiring, how many officers are still doing those positions. But we do see officers in 2 or 3 years being successful at those courses. Okay. So Emma is asking if we've ever spoken to British police officers. I'm assuming you are police officers. Okay, yeah, I haven't. But if you are a police officer, we are accepting applications from officers all over the world. We are accepting applications from civilians all over the world. We are looking to hire people that want to stay in Ontario, that want to police our roads, waterways, communities. So if you are looking to relocate, if that's where you're from, please have a look at our website, opp.ca/careers. Have a look at our minimum requirements. And if you are interested, reach out to us. We would love to talk to you if you are interested in moving and relocating. So we have a auxiliary member from Burlington. Thank you for volunteering your time and getting involved with auxiliary. And just speaking about reload or reapplying to the OPP, I love that. Keep working hard if you're looking to be a regular recruit. Again, we are hiring officers at an unreal rate right now. Every 3 months, we're hiring over 100 officers on average. So now's the time to apply. If there's ever a time, it's now. OPC at the moment is free to people that are hired by our police service. They will go to OPC. They don't have to forfeit any money. You get paid while you're there every 2 weeks by the OPP, and you are housed there and provided food while you are doing your training. So if there's ever a time, now is the time to apply. Okay. What struggles do you have to overcome while working up there in the winter? Cargo has asked that question. So that's a good question. Always be prepared, especially when you work in the north, because like I said earlier, you never know where you're going to be. You never know how long you're going to be there. Have a good lunch. Make sure that you have lots of snacks. Make sure that you are well prepared. In the winter, I always make sure that I have an extra set of gloves. I have an extra toque. I have my warm winter boots. I have my snow pants. I have everything with me because you never know where you're going to be and how long you're going to be there. I've had shifts where I have had to shut down the highway for hours at a time, standing in minus 30-degree weather. This is a common thing in the Northeast, Northwest, also in Southern Ontario when you have to do road closures. I know the West region gets a lot of snow. So a lot of the time we're standing at road closures because of collisions, because of road conditions, any reason. In the winter, it can be cold. Be prepared. Bring the things that you've been provided with. I have, some people call them go bags. I have a bag that I put all my winter stuff in, and whenever I'm going out on patrol in the winter, I make sure that I have it with me. I even have those little hot pad things that you can put into your gloves or in your shoes to keep you warm if you need to. Make sure you always have water with you. And you always have a nice little mug with that you can fill up with coffee in case it's really cold out. Lizzie Bear, some questions about special courses that you can take when you get hired in the north. Absolutely, we already spoke about the ATV and snowmobile courses. A lot of the time, those are ones that you get to take when you are in the north if you're interested in them. There are great opportunities to learn how to use these machines. I know growing up, I never went on a snowmobile, never went on an ATV, very unfamiliar. So getting to go on a course like that would give you the opportunities to become familiar with these different modes of operation and motor vehicles. So absolutely, they're great courses that you can take. Okay, I'm gonna go and see if there's any other questions in here right now. So Chi San Pu. What advice can you provide for a 40-year-old interested in making a career change? Is 40 too old? Absolutely not. It's too old to apply. As long as you meet our minimum requirements, we understand a 40-year-old is going to have a lot of more experience, potentially more life experience than somebody that's in their late teens, early 20s. Potentially some transferable skills from careers, just from life experience. So we see that as an asset. Have a look again at our website, look at our minimum requirements, make sure you can hit that level 7 on the shuttle run. That's the minimum fitness requirement to apply. Make sure that you've got all your transcripts from high school, college, university, anything that you've taken, because we're going to need those too. Sometimes if you've been out of high school for a little bit of time, it's a challenge to get those, but have a look, start getting things ready. Our application start to finish is online, so you can apply from anywhere in the province, anywhere in the world, and that's including your background, that's including your LFI. Everything is done online, so you can totally do it from anywhere. We have officers at our detachments who are great officers that have started after their 40s. So we appreciate your life experience. We appreciate your ability to communicate with people. There's lots of benefits to starting later in your life. Okay. I'm going to take one more question here. Okay, so Andrea, I believe it is. Sorry if I'm not saying your name right. How long does it currently take for an application to be viewed or reviewed approximately? So again, start to finish, we say the process will take anywhere from 2 to 4 months from the time that you apply until the time that you are offered a job. That doesn't mean the time that you are going to the Ontario Police College, but we do say 2 to 4 months. We have about 100 plus officers that we're putting through every 3 months or so. So keep applying. And I just see another really good question here before I end. Caitlin Tidwell, this is a great question. How did you find you were able to maintain good relationships with your friends and family when you moved? Any good advice for keeping your mental health on the right path with a big move like that? That's a great question. I know a lot of the time, us females, that's a big thing for us, is keeping those relationships with friends and family. You know what? Social media, the internet, it's been amazing. My family's still in Southern Ontario, in the GTA, around there, and having social media, having FaceTime, being able to have that face-to-face communication, that is key. Keeping in touch with your friends and family. Again, like I said, 5-6 hours for my friends, family to come up and visit. That can seem like a lot, but once they come up and realize what you have in the Northeast, Northwest, they'll realize why you moved up here. To keep mental health on the right path with such a big move like that. For me, it's fitness, focusing on my own fitness. So running, that's been very important to me since I was in high school, we'll say, and keeping active, doing things like that, and talking to my family members, calling my parents regularly, and just touching base and seeing what they're up to, just so that you feel that you are kind of still part of that, and talking with friends too. So again, I want to thank everyone very much for coming out and asking questions and listening today. I really appreciate you joining in with us, and we hope that you tune in 2 weeks from today, where we will be having another Ask Me Anything. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your questions today. We have a lot that started coming up towards the end here, but just for time's sake, we're going to be ending on the last question there from Caitlin. I really appreciate it. And just to let everyone know, if you are from the Northwest and you're interested in doing a shuttle run, we will be running one in Thunder Bay on the 15th of September in the evening. So have a look on our website at opp.ca/careers. If you scroll right down to the bottom, you'll see our upcoming events, and there will be an Eventbrite sign up if you are interested in joining the shuttle run event and getting a certificate. So again, thank you for your time today. I look forward to meeting you if you come to Thunder Bay, and Sergeant Lawrence and I will be there to help you with the